plexiglass. She made a mold of each one. And when she pulled the mold off, unfortunately, the outer edge of each one of those statues came with it. So they're smaller than they originally were. But at least there's a mold of them, so we do know how to reproduce them. And they have been reproduced for the Brussels Museum, incidentally. So you can see that pair of statues in the Brussels Museum. So they still exist, even if they're somewhat tarnished. And I want to point out the one that's fallen with a broken head. That one had to have been out and moving in order to fall and break. So that one was on the surface of the ground just to start with. Notice none of the others are. They're all buried in holes. So that one was apparently still mobile at the time it fell forward and broke. Now there are subtleties all over the place in here, and you have to sort of somehow put them together. You have to piece them together, but that's what archaeologists do, and they try and make sense out of the whole of it. Well, this is so massive and so difficult to map that we haven't had an overarching explanation of what was going on here. One thing that has been done, though, there have been some maps made from airplanes. That is looking at the quarry at an obtuse angle like this, and then figuring out what each one of the statues is doing. Where is its place here? How many of them were active at the same time? And we don't know that exactly, except we rather think the ones that are down here at the bottom are in the process of being moved, or assembled in the process of being moved. For example, I've mapped all of these, and this, I think, is the starting point for the statues moving along the road, the southeast coastal road. And this brings about a question, and you can choose what you want the answer to be. But, and I say choose, because I wonder if they didn't have teams of movers who would move them all at once. Well, maybe not all at once, but pretty close to it. They'd move this one, and then they would, if the team had the right resources on each one of those statues, then you just walk backward and move the next one, because you had the right number of people, and they were obviously employed for food, there being no other exchange. And they would come back and pick up those three. There's two more out there. There's five in this staging area, as I call it. And maybe they just moved them all at once because you were there. That would be efficient. You wouldn't necessarily want to, of course, being efficient American style and being efficient Rapa Nui style are two different things. Rapa Nui style may not have used all the people all at once. But if they're there, you got to pay them to do it. How are you going to do that? Are they going to do it for gratis? For free? They might. After all, you're on an island with not many resources in the first place, and food being the main one. So you pay them in food, and you work them all day, and then you pay them in food.